Okay, so disclaimer from the top, right? I am not a street person, right? I don't know nothing about gangster business, real roadman stuff, none of that. I'm not involved in anything like that, right? I'm just a black guy with a perspective, right? So just take it at surface value of what I'm about to say, right? From my perspective, the last couple of generations of people, let's say from 1980 downwards, right, have lost or have a warped perception of what it means to be a gangster, right, or what it means to be a bad man, or what it means to be quote unquote real, right? Because if we go down the terminology, what people think is real, they're really just referring to criminal, right? When they say he's real, what they really mean is he's criminal, right? He possesses criminal qualities, right? So put that out of your mind, yeah? So when we're talking about what's real and what's not real, just look at that as a way that people don't understand the vocabulary and what they mean by it, right? So when I say most of the new generations, or the last few, don't know what it really means to be gangster, is this, right? True gangs and gangsterness, yeah, comes from tribalism, right? And it's really a power base of politics, right, and soldierism, right? That's what real gangster shit is, right? The countries that you live in now, all of us, yeah, be it overseas or in England, America, whatever, right? All of these countries were founded by quote-unquote gangsters, right? People that seized power and control based on their group of people, right? Some call them pirates, right? It doesn't matter how you look at it. But gangster business is a system of governance, right? And you have to understand why some people would say the police are the biggest gang in the world, right? Or politicians are the biggest gangsters, right? Bankers are the biggest gangsters, right? Because they actually understand the foundational concept of what it means to take charge, right? To seize power, to be sovereign. That's true gangster business, right? Organised thought wave of shown of power, an accruement of resources, and manipulating politics, right? And protecting your people, right? That's what gangster is, right? So if you look at that from the way that they like to portray black gangster films, right, from the 90s onwards, that's not gangster, right? And even how they like to portray Italian mobsters and stuff like that, that's not gangster, right? That's the surface level veneer, right? When you watch something like that, or you idolize things like that, well, you have to understand in those scenarios, nobody is the good guy, right? It doesn't matter if you're looking at it from the gangster's perspective or the law's perspective, right? None of them are the good guys, right? Once you understand that, you understand foundationally that, yes, the ability to do violence and extract resources can be seen as gangster, right, and threatening. But it's what you do with that power is what makes it gangster, right? Because a real gangster or a real group of gangsters would be something like the Illuminati or the New World Order, right? They can make things happen like that just with their words, right? Just with their understanding of law, the way things work. They are the real gangsters, right? So on a street level crime, it's not real gangsters. It's not quote unquote real. It's just criminal, right? And the people that create laws and interpret laws are gangsters, right? Because they understand how to use it to benefit their situation, protect their people, manipulate and control, right? That's real gangster shit, right? And like I said from the beginning, I'm no street guy, right? I'm no roadman, I'm no gangster, right? I'm none of that, right? I'm just giving you a perspective of it. Or maybe a major key that you're missing. Now, the problem is when your average street guy and your average roadman starts to think like this, what I'm telling you, they become a big threat to the real gangsters, right? Because them average street guys that start to think like that become your Farrakhan's, become your Malcolm X's, become your Martin Luther King's, become, you know, any kind of civil rights person you can look to and say they are dangerous, right, to this group of people, this governing body, because of their power, right? And it's not just because of their criminal potentiality, it's because of their understanding of the system and what it means to control, dominate and manipulate things, right? So you have to understand that when a street level person becomes aware of what it really means to move like a big boy, right? What the real big drug dealers know, like the big farmers, right? Not your kilo moving guy, right? He's just black market economics, right? You have to understand that. Street business, be it drugs, be it selling and buying, prostitution, whatever have you, under the quote unquote shady part of business, is still just economics, right? It's black market economics, and it fuels a shadow part of our whole economic structure, right? Without that street business, most of what we have and what we're able to do as a society wouldn't be as profitable, and it wouldn't be as potent, right? So there's a place for that gangster underworld of drugs and sordid business, right? There's a place for that, and the big economists know this, the bankers, the politicians, they all know this. That's why it's allowed to exist. So when I tell you what you think is real and what you think is gangster isn't really that, right? That's what I'm trying to explain to you. When you understand this, you will probably be thinking, all right, now my group of friends is no longer a gang, right? We're now an organization, right? And then people will hit you with organized crime. But it doesn't have to be criminal activity. It's just a bunch of people that have the ability to do crime, organizing their business, right? Organizing a structure for both protection and finance accumulation, right? So shit gets real, quote unquote real, after you move past the level of beefing with neighborhoods, right? Beefing with individuals, and you start to beef with corporations. You start to build on law and food and health and economics and reform and restructure. That's real gangster shit, right? Because that comes with way higher stakes than the guy running you down with a knife and a gun, right? It comes with real consequences, right? And it also comes with real power and potential to change things, right? So if more road youths, yeah, were actually aware of what it really means to be a bad man, things would be much different, right? And your average bum-ass elder wouldn't be able to keep bringing in new souls into the fold of low-level crime activity, right? Low-level neighborhood beefing. Because on the big scale of it, like, you look at it like this, yeah, you get your Grand Theft Auto map, right, and you've got different areas that have different colours and that, right, and you operate over here with the triads, you operate over here with the mafia, and you operate over here with the hood guys, right? But the problem is this: on the big level of it, all of you hood guys that are beefing with each other, right, so you're Saints Row for like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, yeah, and then you're green people, right? The other gangs, right, and the big overarching gang like the law, right, are looking at you all as one group, right, while you're all looking at yourselves as individuals and fighting amongst yourself, right? The other players are looking at you all as one player, right, and you're not seeing that. That's why you'll never truly be able to be gangsters and have power, control and influence. Now, it's easy for someone like me that's outside of all of this to say this and make this commentary, but it's important that the mind state either shifts completely away from that kind of thinking and that kind of moving, or to completely organized, structured ways of doing things, right? And squashing the petty beefs between the neighborhoods, squashing the petty beefs between each other, right? Sure, there's history and people have ego, pride and honor in what they're doing, even though from an outside perspective that's just crazy, unadulterated violence, right? But the people in it know why they're in it, right? So you can't wrong a man for being involved in street culture or gang shit or none of that, right? You can't really diss them because you're not living their life, you're not in their shoe. But there comes a point where if they're gonna carry on down that road, they're probably gonna end up meeting up with real fucking gangsters, right? And real people capable of doing violence on a level you cannot even imagine, right? Your average ammunitions guy can't fuck with the army's ammunition, right? Your average pirate guy that messes around on the internet scamming and shit can't fuck with big tech, right? They can't. They're only they're baby food, right? So you gotta understand that. It's either you're gonna go and learn how to do things the right way, right? where it's no longer gangster business, it's no longer street business, but real professionals, right? Or you're always going to end up dying in the hood or in jail, like how they want you to be, right? That's what you need to understand. And like I said, I'm not a street guy, I'm not a gangster, none of that, right? I'm just a guy with a perspective on the matter, right? People might look at what I'm saying and be like, you're some dickhead, bro, what do you know, right? And other people might look at me and say, he's fucking dangerous because he's saying shit that will cause people to move in a certain way that will threaten what we have going on, right? It's all about perspective. And me personally, I don't want you to be involved in that life at all, right? I'd rather you just get a normal job and be a normal civilian. Because what are you throwing your life away for? If you're not going to be really committed to real gangster shit, then why get involved with it at all, right? It doesn't make sense. Just make peace with it, squash your ego and be like, hey, I don't want it, bruv. I'm not in it, right? Allow me, right? It's better to just be like that, bro, because there's levels to it. There's real fucking levels to it. And it's better to either be in it for the world, to change the world, and change your neighborhood and change all your friends and family's life, than to just be in it to survive, right? Because you could be dropped somewhere else in the world and you still have to survive, right? So why bother fighting this low-level gangster shit just to survive? Why bother do that? Just bow out. Just squash your pride and your ego and just be like, fuck it, I'm not on it no more. I'm making peace with everybody, right? Or make peace with everybody, organise, prioritise, structure, get your economics together, get your power base together, and make real change, right? And that's how you get to form governments, that's how you get to form countries, right? That's how you get to form alliances. Because like I said, at the base level of all this shit is gangsters and pirates, right? And now we're just polite society based on philosophy and law and agreement, social contract, right? But the base level of all this shit is barbaric, gangster, war-like shit, right? People, men that conquer, dominate, and create structures, right? So the warriors go out there and they fight the war to claim the land, so then the weaker politicians and philosophers and idealists can build societies based on what the warriors have conquered, right? So now if you look at your gang, right, like that, then you're gonna see, right, these men are foot soldiers and warriors. These men are drug dealers and economists. These men are thinkers, planners, plotters and strategizers. These men are influencers, thinkers and game players, right? So just understand that, and then you can build your own little world, right? And then you can expand something legal. You can have your own businesses, you can have your own communities, right? And then all of this low-level street shit will stop, because your elders ain't gonna be able to drag you into that, and your brethren ain't gonna be able to drag you into that, because there'll be people that will check it from the jump. Like, no, you can't beef with my man, because my man is family and friends of us, right? And your family and friends of us too, right? So you can't beef, right? What you can do is settle this in a more amicable way, right? And we'll come up with a way for you to fix this problem, right? That's how it gets to. That's how you get to the big boy game, right? Otherwise, you're only ever going to be playing on the low level, throwing your life away level, right? And like I said, I'm not no gangster. I'm not involved in none of that, right? I'm just a man with a perspective on it. How you could outwit the game that you've been typecast to play, right? How you can step aside from it, right? Or fully immerse yourself in it and become what you didn't know was really gangster, right?